Jumbo! From July 12th to July 26, 2012, 20 students and 4 teachers from Hopewell Valley Central High School took a trip of a lifetime to Kenya. During our travels, we visited several different schools throughout the country that each had something very unique to teach us, like the true value of education, the motivation that people can find to persevere in the face of obstacles that most of us can't even fathom, and that happiness can be found in things we can't see. I think you will be able to see that despite the poor facilities or lack of supplies that these schools had, their students always gave everything they could to their studies and their education. We were also lucky enough to visit Mr. Ngweni's home in Nyanchonori, Kenya, where we were able to see the fruit of our hard work and the outcome of Hopewell's close relationship with this small village. I think I can speak for all of us when I say that seeing the opening of the road that Hopewell helped construct really inspired me to always remember that a small group of determined people can really truly make a difference. Here, the group of Hopewellers laid the foundation for the Global Connections Kenya Center, which will facilitate communication and foster a relationship between the people who come to visit and those who live in the village. This part of the trip made me especially proud to be a part of a community where we're encouraged to help others across the world. As a whole, I truly feel as if this trip inspired us to continue to persevere despite the challenges we may face, the challenges that we may encounter when we try to help others, and the challenges that we encounter in our daily lives. The people I met in Kenya demonstrated that personal success and happiness isn't found in what you were given, but what you are able to give. I hope that this video illustrates the hope, excitement, and determination found throughout the entirety of this trip, both in the people whom I traveled with across the world, and the people I grew to love when I got there. Thank you, and Asante Sana.
Global Connections means connecting with the world on a more personal level, getting to know other people in different cultures, and getting to learn what their life is like and sharing what our life is like.
Well, with other services, there's the need to give, obviously, and some people just give, but the difference with Global Connections is that you actually make a connection with people, and you're there, and you become friends with them.
I think the purpose of the trip, as per the slogan, was building bridges through understanding. So I think the purpose of the trip was not just to bring supplies to the people that were there, but also to gain deeper understanding of them and what their lives are for as brief of an interaction as we had. And for them to kind of better understand us too, because there are huge stereotypes on either side about what their life is like and what we think their life is like and what they think our life is like.
I think overall the purpose is just to, get a better understanding of the world around us so we can work to change it.
So as an orphanage in Kenya, it's very difficult, or an orphanage anywhere, it's very difficult to deal with funds and to deal with having the right supplies for everyone and making a very welcoming environment. But they did a great job of making all the kids feel very, very at home there.
Interesting thing was there was a picture of the world on the wall, and although their geography was a bit warped in size-wise and scale, it just showed that they look at this wall orphaned and in Kenya, and they develop an optimism that I can go outside my area and spread what I have to offer throughout the world.
The kids were unbelievably welcoming and loving.
They were ranging from toddler age to elementary school up to middle school. They were all really humble, really excited that we were here, and they had all gone through tragedy. Most of their parents were killed in the election violence of 2007, I think, leaving them, without a parents, without much hope for the future as we would see it. But they were really hopeful and optimistic about their future.
The visit made me feel very ungrateful for what I have. I walked, I'm living at home and I'm coming to school every day, and I have tons of material possessions. I have books, I have clothes, I have, we have all this stuff here in Hopewell, and what it really made me appreciate was that these kids have almost nothing. They don't even have parents to turn to, but they're so happy, and they've created this family of their own. And it made me come back and realize that I don't need material possessions to be happy.
I felt like a jerk after that visit because I saw all those kids and how how much they wanted to make of themselves. And I kind of thought to myself, like, why am I so uninspired with things sometimes? Why do I put myself down? Why do we all put ourselves down? So I kind of felt like a jerk in that kind of sense, but also I felt pretty happy that I had the opportunity to meet these kids and make a difference in their life.
Everyone, as you can see, everyone is beaming with excitement, having you with us, since you are one among many who are granted golden hearts which are always ready to give.
Well, we went into it with the knowledge that the school was a very high-ranking school in the country, the highest-ranking girls' school in the country, and one or two depending on the Alliance Boys' School in the country in general. So I was expecting a very rigorous, very high level of education, and I think that that was pretty fulfilled. I've never met people who are more driven than the girls that are there, and I've never met people with a harder workload than the people there.
I was given a tour by a girl who dreamed of being an astronaut.
Lions Girls School was impressive, for sure. I mean, these girls were like the future presidents and the future leaders and just geniuses, and they work so unbelievably hard.
They expect them from 5 o'clock in the morning till 7 o'clock at night. You're in school doing work, focusing on your academics. You know, everything else comes second. If you don't do your homework, then you get caned. You know, to us that would seem just incredible and not legal, but to them it's just the African way.
I think in the US, people don't feel that they need to push themselves as hard. Here, the girls recognize that they have been blessed with the opportunity to go to one of the toughest schools in the country, and they are going to get every minute out of it. So their whole day is structured around their schooling, and the amount of work that they have to do to keep it up is unbelievable. The most memorable moment for me, and I think for a lot of kids on the trip, was at the Thika School for the Blind, was the performance at lunch. They came out and they did a absolutely stunning performance. It was unbelievable. These kids were so talented at the individual instruments that they were playing, and at singing, and they're playing drums and everything like that. It was really, really incredible. So that blew me away.
Well, at Thika School for the Blind, you see on paper, it's a school for the blind. Most of the kids here have had some kind of disease that caused their blindness that may have affected other things. So going into it, I was a bit skeptical of how these kids would be in comparison to, the quote-unquote normal people. And while they may be disabled and have disadvantages in their lives, they all were really focused on their academics. They all had the same optimism as the kids at the orphanage, the kids at the private schools, that even though they can't see, they can still do anything that they set their mind to.
I think it was a little bit tougher talking to the students there due to stigmas that we have about blindness and visually impaired people, and the fact that a lot of the kids there were albino. I think a lot of us, including myself, felt a little bit uncomfortable at first talking with them because we didn't know how to interact with them per se. But when I think what broke the ice a lot of the time was asking them what they were learning and finding it very surprising that they were learning the same things that we are in our school. And the fact that these kids have to read through dozens of pages of Braille notes to be able to do a math problem that we are able to just write out in a minute or two was amazing. But then the fact that they were on the same level of us meant that we were able to have a great conversation.
One of the memorable moments was when I met a blind girl named Erin. So oddly enough, the two of us, she brought me on a tour and she was asking me about albino people in America because she's albino. And she actually said to me, "Do you think people like us are freaks?" And I kind of, it made me, I said to her, "No, we don't think you're freaks." And I said, "Feel my hand. I only have one hand. The two of us are the same." So we kind of had a connection with the whole, disability thing and being different from other people.
Moi Forces was awesome. This was the school that Miss Ngweni had obviously had a big impact on. And I think it really showed because while they also were a very high-functioning school in Kenya, they also had a lot more emphasis than Alliance Girls School on community service and getting a more well-rounded education, which are both things that I think are very important.
In point of view is Diana Kemunto, ready to present to you a poem entitled An African Woman. Enjoy! She is strong, strong like the earth. She is beautiful, beautiful like grass. Always grows back abundantly. No matter how badly she is treated, she delivers good fruit. With every spoken word, she is life. To the greatest kings on earth, she is the wife. To the best cooks I know, she is the knife. To the constant war all around, she is the cow. Above earth she stands, firm and brave. No storm, no wave can make her a slave. She's like pure fountain water, the reason her love never ends. She stays clean and bright, her qualities to win the fight. The pride of Africa, Mama, it's you. The soul of our face, Mama, it's you. It's you. It's you. It's you. An African woman. Pleasure.
And to go into each of the individual classrooms and have everyone be so welcoming to us and also so excited to see us and excited to learn about what life in the U.S. was like, while we also strove to learn what life in Kenya is like.
And certainly they've taken something out of Mr. Ngweni, born and raised in Kenya, teaching at their school, who goes to America and makes a difference in his community.
I am praising the Lord. I am praising the Lord. I am praising the Lord. Oh, the Lord has been so good to me. I am praising the Lord. I am happy for Him. I am happy for Him. Oh, the Lord has been so good to me.
We were there for a whole day, so we really got to know a lot of cool girls. And we played a huge soccer game with them where they were amazingly good, and they let us win, but they definitely should have won for sure.
At Moi Forces, I think it was very cool to see the dances. After dinner we had a performance. They performed all sorts of dances for us. And when the girls performed a dance, they brought all of us up, and soon all of the Americans were dancing as well. And that was very cool to see, us all bonding together over one dance. The road opening was very exciting. It was very exciting to see that the name of the road had been named after Hopewell, and that this was something that we had actually raised money for, and this was something, a reward for all of our hard work that had finally paid off.
And it was also really cool because there was a tea truck waiting there to pass by. So as soon as it opened, a tea truck, which is what we built the road for, so tea trucks can get into that area, was passing by. So like automatically we saw the difference it was making.
And so I think the road opening was a nice introduction to Nyanchonori.
Plus, I think I saw an article that there was a woman who was in a life-threatening condition that she needed assistance, and they went down the road and got her right to the help she needed. So I guess we saved a life.
I mean, it was pretty sad. The schools were in really bad condition. They didn't have windows. They were just made up of kind of like tin structures, tin roofs that had holes in them. What do you think about it? I mean, David and Gwenny went to these schools, and he's come this far.
The kids at the Kisi primary schools had an incredible work ethic, despite the facilities that they learn in. Some of the kids who we saw were in torn up uniforms and had no shoes on and were learning in these classrooms with dirt floors. But needless to say, they had their pencil and they had their paper, and they were copiously taking notes, and they were eager to learn, and they were motivated, and it was incredible to see.
Well, the Masai it's a very interesting culture because all their wealth is measured in cattle. And with those cattle, they can have like a certain amount of wives, and then they have huts for each wife. And I mean, sometimes, like they said, some villages it's only 2 guys, and it's like 20 women. Like to become a man when you're a Masai, you have to kill a lion. And like they just have a lot of different traditions too. Like when we got there, they started dancing with us, but we also started doing this jumping competition. And the person that can jump the highest gets the prettiest girls. And so obviously we couldn't jump at all, but these people could jump.
Their traditions were very strange to me. I had never seen houses built out of cow poop, and they also believe in polygamy, which I have not been exposed to. And it was very interesting to see them. It was very different, but it was very cool to see how other people live.
I think that was a lot of fun, and that that was authentic, cliched Kenya, which isn't a bad thing. It's just an interesting thing that I had hoped I would get a chance to see.
The tea walk, it started from a church service, which was on the side of a hill, which was pretty interesting because it was the whole village, like 500 people or so, out on the side of the hill.
The tea walk was a walk that we took that simulated the walk that a Kenyan tea farmer would have to take maybe 2 or 3 times a day to transport the tea that they had picked to the actual tea processing center. It was about 3 miles long, and it was up and down hills, and it was very difficult to make the trip.
The tea walk was very eye-opening. The chief thing that I think I saw on this walk that surprised me was how hilly of terrain it was. And how they're able to do that is unbelievable because we were slipping and falling. And I've hiked my entire life and I was slipping and falling while going down these embankments. But the kids that were there who are used to doing this walk every day were running up and down it like it was a completely flat plane.
It impacted me because as many things in this experience, I've taken my Hopewell life for granted, and by seeing another culture and how they live certainly toned me down a notch.
It showed me that people work very hard for what they have. They work extremely hard to farm their tea, and they work extremely hard to make the money that they need to sustain their families. And it gave me a new appreciation for things as little as roads, how big of a difference they can make.
Well, it felt like one big party, honestly. I mean, we got there and people were clapping and they were putting on little necklaces for us, and they were just really excited to see us.
Everyone was welcoming you with open arms, no matter who you are, no matter what you thought, and no matter what the person knew about you. They were just so happy to see you and so happy to have you in their country.
And it was really overwhelming, but also awesome and really great environment and so exciting. So you could see how important this foundation launch was to the people, and how important seeing their brother and friend and son, Mr. Ngweni, come home to their village.
We launched our idea to build a building that would house means of communication like phones and computers, so that we could build a lasting friendship with the people of Nyanchonori and us back in Hopewell.
The first time we have two communities of people here who love each other. The Americans and Kenyans. Now people often gather to build a building that has been completed, so that they can admire its beauty. As you can see, this is not the case here today. We are here today because we want to launch an idea which is greater than physical structures. It is an idea of building global bridges among the people of the world. So today it is the coming together of people from the United States who are our friends, and people from Kenya. And so together, we are going to start an idea which will connect people worldwide.
It's an honor to finally meet you, a people and a place that I've heard so much about. It's been such a pleasure to work with and learn from Mr. Matara. And it is a true joy to call him mentor and Rafiki. As you've heard, the students, teachers, and community have found deep meaning in relationships. We've learned that no matter our differences on the surface, we share much more in common in our needs, desires, and our dreams. Today we invite you to share a dream with us. Our hope is to bring opportunities to build global connections to a permanent home here in Nyanchonori.
On this trip, I learned to broaden my horizons and to take things in, and I learned to be more open to other cultures, to learn about other people, and to not be so judgmental as to, when you think about going to Kenya, you think, oh, these poor people, they don't have anything, we have to help them. And when in reality you go and they're living great lives, they're happy, they're having fun, they're very welcoming people, and I just learned that, everyone is the same worldwide.
I can do a lot more with my life than I thought, and that I can really make a difference and inspire people.
I learned two things. One, about myself, being the insecure little kid who, was kind of loud and obnoxious and weird, unfiltered humor, transitioning from that to, a mature young man, hopefully, but then the second part, I learned a lot about Kenya. I'd never been far. The farthest east I've been is the Atlantic Ocean, and the farthest west I had been was Hershey, Pennsylvania. So being this little eastern sliver of my tourism destinations, by going so far west, so far out of my comfort zone into Kenya, another country, getting to know these people, getting to know their customs, I think I got a better understanding of what the rest of the world's like.
I think I learned a lot about who I want to be when I get older, even who I am now. I think the trip has really made me, as well as the other members, face what the rest of our lives is going to be like. Not because of how we needed to act there or the maturity level that was needed to go on the trip, but the fact that life is something that you can't just mess around with. And the time that you have is very important, both for having a good time, which we did on the trip, but also making a difference. And I think the trip really taught me that that's something that I really want to do.
Says, pamoja tutaweza. Okay? Together we can. That's what this is all about.